Eddie's about 2 cheeseburgers away from handling his hand in the dirt right next to me.
Is Eddie Lacy too fat? Is that a mean question?
Well, I mean, you know, Eddie Lacy's got a lot of work to do.
Slimmer Lacy, I am so excited. How much weight have you lost?
I don't know.
Oh, yes, you do. You haven't stepped on the scale?
I don't do scales.
The coach just called him out, and it's going to be on him personally to be a pro and come back and be ready to go next year.
Fresh off of 3 college national championships, this guy ran for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns as a rookie to win the Offense Rookie of the Year award. But he wasn't done. He followed up the next season with another 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns. Eddie Lacy's speed wasn't the only factor to his great production on the field, but thanks to his ability to break tackles, move piles, and make the first guy miss with his Tasmanian Devil spin moves. But his numbers on the field started to decrease just his 3rd year in the NFL, as his numbers on the scale started to increase just a tad bit too much. He always had a love for food since a kid, but once he got to the NFL, he didn't have anyone monitoring his food intake like he did in college or back in high school. And when he showed up to training camp in 2015, looking like he was supposed to be up front with the linemen, his eating habits became a concern. And once word got out, the internet trolls started to roll in like troops in the army. Eddie said every time he would pick up his phone, another random would be adding him on Twitter or tagging him on the gram, making fun of his weight. So this is the story how Eddie Lacy went from a dominant 1,100-yard spin cycle rookie to a 5-year vet who only finished his career with 179 yards in his final season. Eddie's story began in a brick house on Bannerwood Drive in Drencher, Louisiana. He is the 3rd out of 4 kids by his mother Wanda and his father Eddie Lacy Sr. His 2 older brothers play football, which made him follow along on the field. He played with the neighborhood kids and was one of the best on the playground. Sometimes when he ran the football, people would stop and videotape him. He'd run, spin, and they would fall over trying to tackle him. Eddie loved to hang out with everyone on the block. His big bright smile could fill up a whole room. And his house was the chill spot on the block. At 6 years old is when he first started playing organized football and went out for running back, saying it was more fun running away from people than tackling them.
Running away from people is better than hitting people.
Eddie wasn't a big kid, but boy, did his mother keep the family fed. Growing up in the South, there is no such thing as healthy eating. Ask a person you know from the South where the nearest salad or vegan place is around town, and they'll look at you like you're crazy. But a typical dinner at the Lacy household always consisted of something fried. Fried chicken, fried pork chops, fried fish, with red beans and rice or pork and beans for the side. And oh yeah, can't forget the crawfish, the Southerners' favorite. But for food, they didn't really have any other options. Trying to feed a large family on a tight budget, the unhealthy food was all they could afford. He even said his mother made them eat bread with about every dinner because she knew it would fill them up to feel less hungrier later. But the food didn't slow him down one bit, because going into his freshman year, he earned a spot on a varsity squad. But just before he could ever take a snap on the field, disaster would strike the coast of Louisiana.
4 o'clock, Katrina grows into a Category 1 hurricane. 80-mile-an-hour winds it sideswipes.
Relentless, pounding rain, crashing in, stars coming in, utter devastation. City officials predict scores of people are dead. Houses and apartment buildings were decimated by Katrina. The magnitude of the situation is untenable. It's just heartbreaking.
Luckily, the Lacy's safety evacuated in a timely manner just before the storm hit their area and stayed in a hotel in Baymount, Texas. They thought their stay was only going to take a couple days, but those days started to turn into weeks. And when their money started to run low, they were forced to move in with one of Eddie's aunts in Baton Rouge, which already had 5 families in a 3-bedroom house. And once they were finally able to return home, the town was vacant. Trees and birds were gone. The house reeked of raw sewage, mold ran up the walls, and the foundation was shifted. About everything in the house was trashed, and looters took about everything else of value. The DVD player, his dad's stereo, and Eddie's 3-foot-high piggy bank filled with coins. Eddie stared at the ruins, numb and emotionless.
Became like emotionless.
That bright smile that once filled up a room went completely dim, with everything he once owned gone. He then turned into a madman. The Lacy family found a trailer home and saved enough money to move in. And that anger and aggression grew as he walked in his bedroom, which was about the size of a walk-in closet. The talkative jokester who ruled the playground, who brought a room full of friends to the house, was now quiet and lonely.
I don't like this at all.
He shut down and wouldn't talk about it. With all the anger Katrina left Eddie, the only place he was able to take it out legally was on the football field. And boy, at his new high school, Dutchtown, he punished defender. The school's coach remembered LACY ripping through 10 tackles on a 60-yard touchdown in the playoffs. Between the lines, LACY ran with raw anger. Either he ran through you, over you, or around you. Either way, he was getting into the end zone. He was the total package. He ran for 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns as a sophomore, and upped those stats the next year with 1,800 yards and 34 touchdowns as a junior. But he remembers, after scoring touchdowns and fans cheering, teammates meeting him in the end zone to celebrate, he would just walk to the sideline and take a knee, alone. He still had that memory of what he saw back at home after the hurricane. But ultimately, an injury would limit him to only half the season as a senior, but he was still rated as the 13th best running back and the 116th best overall prospect. Heavily recruited by many D1 programs, choosing Nick Saban and the Roll Tide was a no-brainer, with a destroy everything in front of him mentality Eddie had. Before heading off to Tuscaloosa, he made a promise to his family that he was going to use his talents to get them out of that trailer park, no matter what it took. Alabama is where Eddie first witnessed what it meant to empty the tank. The Crimson Tide coaching staff pushed him to exhaustion, and walking into a loaded running back room, he was forced to redshirt as a freshman. And when you're talented and being redshirted, that means one thing: the scout team, and running against the #1 defense to prepare them for the next week's game. He would almost be in every scout play, taking hit after hit. He even said that was the worst year of his life. But as a sophomore, he started to find his groove as Mark Ingram left for the NFL. Richardson and LACY were set to share snaps in the backfield during preseason, and people around the community started to say the Richardson and Eddie LACY duo may put up bigger and better numbers and go down as the best duo in recent history. And boy, were their predictions right.
LACY bolts middle, still going end zone, and Eddie LACY scores the first touchdown.
Nope.
Eddie adapted the nickname Circle Button for his fantastic spin moves he displayed. That move was deadly, which separated him from other backs in his class.
Who taught you how to spin, and when did you do it for the first time?
I guess myself when I was younger, but I don't know, it's just something that I've been able to do naturally, so I guess if that's my nickname, it's not bad.
While everyone else just used their speed, Eddie used his quick footwork and power moves to navigate the field. And while defenders were eating the grass that he kicked up on the field, Eddie had different taste buds. Chinese food to be exact. He loved it so much that he wouldn't stop tweeting about it. But his love for unhealthy foods was okay, because he was just worked to death in team workouts and in the weight room sessions, which didn't hinder his play on the field, because his junior year, he doubled his stats, as he was named the starter and rushed for 1,300 yards and 17 touchdowns. After an electrifying junior season and another national championship, he declared for the draft, solely to fulfill the promise that he made back to his parents back home of getting them out of that trailer park. Ultimately, he left with a total of 2,402 yards and 30 touchdowns and 3 national championships. First, 2009, which he didn't play in due to being redshirted, but had back-to-back wins in 2011 and 2012.
You decided to leave school. What was the biggest factor?
My family. Most importantly, my parents and my little sister.
LACY was a top prospect in the 2013 draft, but many scouts and coaches questioned his work ethic due to his size. He was one of the heavier backs looking for a new place to call home. But his ability to break tackles, move piles, and spin moves, always making the first guy miss, made up for it. Ultimately, he fell to being the 4th running back off the board with the 61st overall pick. Chilling in his new Wisconsin home, LACY still felt something was missing. He wasn't yet over the Katrina disaster. The only thing in the world that got his mind off his troubles was Chinese food and cartoons. The first thing he did once he settled in was call AT&T, his TV provider, to get the unlimited cartoon package. Everything you can think of. American Dad, Family Guy, even Tom and Jerry. But his favorite was Dragon Ball Z. He never really enjoyed football to the point where he could actually sit down for 2 to 3 hours to watch a full game. And the only time he watched football was during team film. Football was only his outlet to release his anger and get his family into a better living situation, in which he was able to, because his rookie year, he made it his big.
He's agile for a guy of his size. Got a great spin move. He takes care of the football and does all the things you want.
Rushing for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns, he set the Packers' rookie record for both rushing yards and touchdowns in a season, made the Pro Bowl, and was selected the 2013 Offense Rookie of the Year. 2014 was another great year for him, with another 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns, nearly mirroring his rookie year. 2014 is also the year his promise was fulfilled and bought his parents the home that they dreamed of and built it from the ground up. He felt accomplished for the most part, which eventually started to hurt his play on the field. See, in the NFL, you don't have anyone down your neck pressing you to eat right or work out, like Eddie had at Alabama. You're just supposed to find time to do it on your own. And Eddie's love for food started to show up when he arrived at training camp 2015. When coaches asked him to step on the scale, he was pushing nearly 260, only 20 pounds less of what the average lineman weighs. He was in no condition to replicate his past success, and people started to notice a double chin and beer gut. And when this picture hit the net, it started a cult-like frenzy of people bashing him for his weight gain. And ultimately, his numbers decreased drastically just his 3rd year, as he finished with only 758 yards and 3 touchdowns in 15 games. His head coach McCarthy was not pleased by his running back at all, making it clear in the season-ending news conference that LACY could either lose weight or lose playing time.
You know, Eddie Lacy's got a lot of work to do. It was not good enough, and he never recovered from it. He cannot play it the way that he played it this year.
And in his last season under contract, it just got more horrifying for LACY. Even though he dropped 20 pounds in the offseason due to P90X workouts, his year was cut short mid-season due to an ankle injury against the Giants, forcing the Packers to put a tight end in the backfield and leaving his last days as a Packer with only 360 yards and no touchdowns. During his recovery phase, he gained those 20 pounds back plus more. With the Packers having no interest in extending his contract, he was given a chance with the struggling Seahawks, who were struggling in the backfield after the departure of Marshawn. To show his appreciation for his fans, he held a garage sale before leaving Wisconsin.
Every dollar goes to charity to help the homeless in Green Bay, and everything was for sale.
A man also known as a great neighbor.
I have to be very honest and tell you, I did make him cookies. I was known as the cookie lady. But I don't want to tell that too much because, you know, there's controversy about Eddie's weight.
Eddie signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Seahawks in March of 2017. He reportedly weighed 267 pounds at the time, leaving Seattle to include a weight clause in his contract up to $385,000. He had 7 weigh-ins that were worth $55,000 apiece. His weight goals were to be 255 pounds in May, 250 pounds in June through August, and 245 pounds for September through December. But after his first couple weigh-ins, he started to feel different about the money because the monthly ritual of turning his weight into a public show began to feel a bit like public shaming. He assumed the weigh-ins would stay private between the team doctors and the Seattle coaches. But the first time he weighed in, he remembers results getting out within 20 minutes. Even his agency tweeted out when he first passed his 2 weigh-ins, despite the fact he didn't even want to share the news because he thought that was something that should have stayed private, which ultimately only created more memes around the internet of him. But eventually, sharing the backfield with 3 other backs, he only saw action in 9 games throughout 2017. And after posting 1,100 yards as a rookie, he ended his football career with 179 yards and no touchdowns. After taking 2018 off for his own personal reasons, it was reported that he worked out with the Ravens at the start of 2019, but nothing ever moved forward between Eddie and the organization. Social media has done its wonders in recent years to bridge the gap between fans and professional athletes. But increased intimacy comes with drawbacks, and nobody understands that better than Eddie LACY. Ever since his weight became a public topic during his career, he has read many comments about his weight problem, but has stayed silent, convinced he could never win against the trolls. Responding would only give them the satisfaction knowing that they wounded him. He has said in an interview, quote, "I could pull up Twitter right now and there will be a fat comment in there somewhere. Like I could tweet, 'Today is a beautiful day,' and someone will be like, 'Oh yeah, you fat.' I sit there and wonder, what do you get out of that?" But if you paid attention, football was never the dream life he wanted to live. He strictly used his skills to put his family in a new environment.
It's a pretty nice sized house, and I'm happy, my parents are happy.
And when he was finally able to do that, football didn't matter much to him anymore. As long as he's happy with what he has accomplished, that is all that matters. Hell, for all we know, Eddie's probably somewhere right now, laid back, kicking his feet up, eating orange chicken and fried rice, watching Dragon Ball Z, enjoying his best life, with a little P90X sprinkled in there sometimes. But with that being said, if you were blessed with a natural born skill that you may not truly have a dream of using for the rest of your life, just use that to fund your real passion. I'm going to say that again. If you were blessed with a natural born skill that you may not truly have a dream of using for the rest of your life, just use that to fund your real passion.
What's the word that you would describe Eddie's state of mind now?
He's content. My parents are situated, so now I can set another goal.
Feel great, gave up more struggles. Everything good, now we only pop bubbles. Sauce drip, champagne cuddles. Careful, don't slip, champagne cuddles. Hey, it ain't no fun till the bottle is done. My homegirls came with the feminine vibes.